This week, a listener is concerned with finances and wants to know when it's appropriate to ask her date about his. Does it go both ways? But first, how concerned should you be about being alone? How important is finding a partner? Welcome to the talking phase. Hello, and welcome to yet another exciting episode of the Talking Phase podcast. My name is Tom, and I am joined, as always, by the talented and beautiful Pam. Pam, before we get to your life, I'm going to tell you what's going on in mine.
All right, I'm ready to hear it.
Because
I bet it's cold.
So, just in case anyone wants to do all the math, we record these things just, a few weeks in advance, sometimes depending on how far in advance we are. I'm going to see Sebastian Maniscalco tonight here in Salt Lake City. If you don't know who that is, well, you're clearly not up in the comic world, because Sebastian is one of the top 2 or 3 comics in the world today. Highly recommend him. I saw him in Atlanta last year. I have much better seats this time. Anyway, don't miss him if you get a chance. That's just my own little advertisement for Sebastian. And then it'll be way too late to celebrate this by the time this episode drops. But this Sunday, January 19th, so yes, we are recording far in advance, is National Popcorn Day. So Laura and I are going to see a movie. At AMC Theaters, you can get all-you-can-eat popcorn for 50% off. Cinemark, you bring your own bucket. Whatever you want to bring in, and they'll fill it up for $5. So it's too late, because when you're listening to this, it was like 3 weeks ago. But mark your calendars for next January 19th. It's a Monday next year, so you don't miss out.
I swear to God, there are people right now thinking that we are working with them as advertisers. You just told everybody to go see this comedian, and when you said comic, I immediately thought it was a comic book. You guys were going to see something to do with a comic book, and then I realized that it's a comedian. And then as far as the popcorn, I don't know. It's not too soon for me, because I know what the actual date is. So maybe I'll go get some all-you-can-eat popcorn. But for you, you don't eat that much, so all-you-can-eat popcorn wouldn't seem to be a big draw to go to the movies, really.
I will tell you, we're going to be going to a Cinemark, because it's not about the amount of popcorn. I'm going to go to see what buckets people bring. That's what I'm going for.
That's really funny. All right.
Think about like Let's Make a Deal, where people dress up like chickens and shit like that. I'm guessing that people are going to bring in all sorts of weird buckets. Now, I might be totally wrong, and people are going to just show up with shit.
Probably.
And I'm going to be
They're probably going to buy the bucket and then maybe refill it and share it with a bunch of people. I don't know. I can't eat that much popcorn anyway.
I'm going to bring one of those big old tubs with the rope handles.
I can't wait. Take a picture of that. We'll need to post it. Take a picture. We'll post it on YouTube. What movie are you going to see?
I don't know. Doesn't matter. Probably Wolfman.
Yeah, that looks really, really good. Maybe I'll see if I can get somebody to go see that movie this week or this weekend.
Yeah. Anyway, other than that, hey, everything's going great. Laura's awesome. World's great. So moving right along with that, Pam, you have a much more exciting life than I do. What's going on?
I don't know that it's more exciting, but I think you're a really good advertisement for people who believe that a relationship will make them really happy. I feel like you're good marketing for that, because you have been happier since you moved to Utah and started hanging out with Laura than since I met you. So, whereas some of us are in the single camp and finding our joy in multitudes of other ways, wherever we can, crumbs on the street. You just probably wake up happy. What am I going to do with Laura today? But with that said, I will admit once and for all, and again, I'm admitting this way sooner from Nikki moving out than when this episode drops. She's actually only been out for, I'll say, 2 weeks this weekend. But yeah, it's not as bad as I thought. It's actually really peaceful. And of course, my kids listen to the podcast, or at least Nikki does. So I miss her immensely, but I've hung out with her quite a bit since she moved out. She pops over on a day when she works from home. Adam and Nikki come over once a week, and we make dinner together and watch. We're watching Squid Game. We're going to finish that, and then we're going to get into season 2 of Severance. So we're really excited about Severance. So it's really fun to see them. And I'm also enjoying like there's no dishes in the sink and there's no noise, which sometimes is a little disconcerting, but at the same time, not terrible. And so yeah, I have done a little bit more swiping lately because
Uh-oh.
I've gone to quite a few social events, but there's nobody that I'm really feeling like, this is going to go somewhere. So I've done a little swiping here and there, and I'm talking to a couple people, which is one more than I usually ever talk to. Um, so I'm accidentally talking to two people, and I have plans with both of them. Not at the same time, although that would be super convenient. But I have plans with one of them this weekend and one of them on Monday. And so, they're first dates and they are dating apps. So they will probably not give me much to talk about on our next show, but tune in and I will let you know what, if anything, happens with either one of those dates. So that's my excitement.
Wow.
Yeah. It's
I'm
been
not swiping, so that by the way, that's probably why I'm more happy.
oh,
Is
right.
because there's
Well,
no swiping involved.
nobody forces me to swipe. So I have to take the credit where it's due, where I am I'm neither more or less happy whether I'm going on a date or not going on a date. So I think that's the right mindset to be in when you're on a dating app. I don't feel any pressure. I don't feel any, overwhelming need for one of these two people to be somebody that I have a relationship with. It really falls firmly into the it is what it is category. And that's the only mindset to attack these dating apps if you're going to use them. Uh, so yeah, just kind of taking it one day at a time.
Good for
Whatever
you.
happens,
That's the
happens.
only way to be.
Yeah, I was thinking while I knew I was going to talk about having an empty nest today, I have spent a lot of time over the last couple weeks really thinking and reflecting on my feelings in general and why leading up to her moving out, a lot of my friends were saying, "You talk about it all the time. Wow, you know, why is this such a huge deal?" Because their kids left home a long time ago.
Mhm.
And I've always been so scared of being and living alone, just that word alone, that
Right.
now that here I am 2 weeks into it feeling fine, I have had to have some super self-realization about how I got from pretty terrified to pretty peaceful, feeling pretty good about it. And it made me look back on the last year of my life and some of the things that I've done since Nikki started dating Adam. And I knew it was going to be serious. And I knew that they were talking about moving in together probably 6, 7, 8 months ago. They've been talking about it and kind of, just debating when, but not if. And so I look back on my last relationship, which anybody who listens to the show knows it was a long distance relationship. And they also probably know, because I've said it so many times, that that's probably the only thing on my absolutely not list um, is long distance, mainly because I really enjoy immediate gratification. And so, like if I'm seeing somebody and it's Tuesday and we're both bored, I want them to be able to come over and have dinner and watch a show or watch a movie or go out, whatever. And you
Or
can't
fuck.
do
Come on.
or, or that, yeah, just to have a person. But to get to that level for me, it would have to be somebody I was in a relationship with. So that's a long ways off at this point anyway. Um, so yeah, I went ahead and ignored my biggest deal breaker and went into a long distance relationship with somebody that I liked, a great person, somebody that I really felt we had a lot in common with. But I think the main reason I broke my big rule was because I would rather be in any relationship than think about being alone.
Mm.
And we had talked about living together and him moving here. And in my head, I was already thinking, well, this relationship will just take the place of Nikki when she moves out. And that way, I don't ever have to be alone. And
Wow.
so, yeah, even after like 3, 4 months of dating, and I knew that there were a lot of things we didn't see eye to eye on, we were still talking about the holidays. And this was back in October. We were talking about Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's and all of these things. And all I was thinking to myself was, I won't be alone. Somebody will be here. She'll move out and then he'll be in the area and
Oh,
then he'll move in. And it was just in my mind, it was this perfect plan. And I never even really thought about, do I want to live with him? Do I want this to be, a forever relationship? All I thought about was myself and my own fear of being alone. So it had really nothing to do with the relationship, which was unfair to him and unfair to myself. But I've never been alone. I say that again and again. I'm sure I have met a dozen people who have said, even now in their 40s and 50s, they too have never lived alone.
mhm.
Um, I was willing to overlook all of my feelings and sacrifice the needs that I wanted to be met, that I knew weren't going to be met by this relationship, just so that I wouldn't have to face that fear. And in hindsight, which is of course 2020, I was a fool. And luckily, he knew also that we weren't a good match romantically, or it's possible that I would have just stayed to avoid facing that fear. And
Huh.
if I had stayed just to avoid facing that fear, I wouldn't be sitting here today saying, you know what? This isn't as bad as I thought it would be. For the first time in my life, it's kind of nice. I don't hate it. So that's what I
That's
thought we could talk about today.
you want to talk about that? Okay. I think it's a really fascinating topic because I think we talked about it a few weeks ago. That I mean, I remember moving to Florida a few years ago and walking into my condo going, "Holy crap, I'm 51 or 52 years old, and this is the first time in my life I've ever lived alone."
Yeah.
And it's a weird, it's a strange, and I guess there's a certain amount of fear of living alone, but not living alone necessarily. I mean, yes, living alone, but it's also remaining alone, right? That's the fear that I think a lot of people have. I had
I
that
agree.
fear, um, and I've made TikToks about this. Oh, and when this drops, I guess we'll know if TikTok survived. But
Yeah, that's
um,
true.
um, but I've made TikToks about. I was terrified of dying alone. Um, and I never thought about living alone. It was the dying alone part. And I got all these people on TikTok going, "Oh, you're an idiot. Everybody dies alone." It's like, what? Not everybody dies alone. I mean, yes, you're the only one that dies generally.
Right. You're going on that journey by yourself.
Yeah, but if I'm sitting there in a hospital bed holding my wife's hand or my partner's hand, I'm not alone.
Right.
That's what I have. That was the fear that I always had. And I remember talking to my one of my sons, who is kind of my. He's a very sage. He's very wise for his years, and I was telling him, I'm scared of dying alone. And he said, "Dad, here's the thing: you could meet the perfect woman tomorrow, in every way, and you guys could be together for the rest of your life. There's a 50-50 chance that she's going to die before you. And so you die alone anyway. Why are you so freaked out about something that you have literally no control over?" And that
That's a
was
good
a
point.
really, really like a watershed moment for me. That I was trying to control something that I had no control over or very little control over. And so that really helped me to kind of go, holy shit, I don't need to try to control this and be freaked out about it. What are your
Well
thoughts?
ironically, while you were talking about that, I was thinking, I've never thought I've never thought about being scared of dying alone, because I know that when my time comes, unless I am physically alone, which was what crossed my mind, is that when you're living alone, you need to carry your phone with you everywhere you go. It's like one of those buttons that the old people I guess we are kind of the old people, when you
Yeah.
see the ad and it's like, you know,
I've
they have
fallen
this.
and I can't get up.
Yes, so funny. It's been around for so long. It's been along long enough for me to be like, God damn, who would wear that? And then I'm like, oh, well, thank God we have these phones. But like, if you fall down the stairs, or if you wake up in the middle of the night sick, or, I have those things still cross my mind. I like the peace, but like right now I'm nursing a little bit of a pinched nerve. And last time this happened was like 3 years ago, and Nikki was here, and, she was talking to me and bringing me things. I didn't have to carry anything or lift anything or pour anything, you know. And if I tried, she would be like, don't you do that, because I would screw up a trip that was coming and she wanted me to heal. And, when you're living by yourself, especially as a woman, you don't have the strength of some. I don't have the strength of most men. I mean, I'm tall, but I'm not strong. So there are some things that it's like a little bit discombobulating, like that if you need something done, you have to like call a handyman or ask a friend. And luckily, I have a couple guy friends that help me out. But like you are in essence, if you're single and you're living by yourself, you are alone. But that feeling that for the first time in my life, yeah, something could happen and I would be alone and I would have to figure it out. Um, but I think that I'm figuring it out. And
Mhm.
it's kind of embarrassing to admit to myself that my entire life I've been maybe not scared of being alone, but scared of not being in a relationship. And I haven't felt that way for years now. Since my divorce, I maybe right after the divorce, there was a year where I was like, oh my God, I need to get right into a relationship. And I had a couple, no, no good relationships. Um, but it's more just the idea of, is this what forever looks like? And then if it does, is that really a bad thing?
Right.
Because I'm really happy right now. My life is very full without a relationship.
Well, we've talked about, you just mentioned like the first year after your divorce, you know, you were freaking out trying to find somebody. I had this conversation with one of my sons the other day because unfortunately, one of my boys ended a 9-year relationship the other day. They've been
Yeah.
dating since their sophomore year in high school, and they've been
Oof.
living together for the last couple of years. I refer to her as my daughter-in-law. I love her to death, but they ended it a few days ago. And I mean, my heart hurts for him, but also for the rest of the family because we just
Right.
lost a family member too. Um, and I mean, it's been a tough week for everybody. But we were having this conversation because he's my son. So obviously, when I got divorced 5 years ago, we had a lot of long talks about this. And one of the things that I said to him was, um, take the time. And I gave him the same advice that I wish I've mentioned it here 100 times. I
You
wish
have.
I had taken the 12-month advice. Don't date for 12 months. And it's only been in the last couple of months that I've realized why, which is stupid that it's taken me 5 years to figure out the reason behind it. And it's because, like you just said, this is the first time in your entire life you've ever lived alone. And I had never been alone. And so it's one of those things where you have to, in my opinion, take my advice or not, but if you've spent your entire life, especially your adult life, you've lived with somebody else, you've depended on them for certain things. Now all of a sudden you're on your own, and so there's a gap, there's a hole, there's something missing that you are accustomed to somebody else doing, filling, being, whatever. And so until you have filled that up on your own, you're literally looking for someone to complete you, which is stupid. That is a recipe for disaster. If you're not complete on your own, don't go looking. So it's like, don't go shopping when you're hungry. That's
Right.
the same kind of a
I've
rule.
heard that. Yeah.
Wait until you've completed yourself and then you add. You enhance yourself, not complete yourself. That's just, and it took me, I'm an idiot, so it took me longer than most. Um, so almost 5 full years it took me to realize I didn't need somebody in my life. I wanted somebody to make my life a little bit better rather than filling a gap that my ex-wife left. I didn't even realize I was still trying to fill.
Well, they don't call it a rebound for nothing.
Right.
Rebound. And, there's always that saying, the best way to get over somebody is to get under somebody new. Have you not heard that?
Yes, I have. And I'm not
So
sure I agree with it, but
no, I mean, and I think a lot of times they're just talking about, a friends with benefits situation or something casual. I don't wholeheartedly disagree with you on the 12-month stance. I think the idea of it is well grounded and well thought out, but I do sometimes think that life brings somebody into your life when it's going to bring somebody into your life. And if you are so regimented as you are with your list and with this 12-month rule, if you're so regimented that you are not allowed to look outside of those restrictions, then somebody who might be perfect for you could wind up with somebody else. And maybe they're perfect for that person too, but that doesn't help you. So I would never give somebody that advice. I think that what you said about needing to be happy on your own is 100% true. And I think that most people are guilty of moving too quickly from one relationship to another to dull the pain of the loss, even if the relationship was bad. I was married for almost, 18 years. And when we got divorced, I also dated very quickly. I can't say that I would have done it any differently. In a perfect world, I maybe would have met somebody in that first year that I feel like I spent so many years married when I should have been divorced, that like I had already wasted 5, 6, 7 years trying to save a marriage that was unsavable. So I didn't want to waste any more time, but I also didn't meet anybody that I would want to marry or have a long relationship with.
So I'm going to give you an analogy, and I'm warning everybody. Feel free to skip forward a minute or two if you don't like Tom's really bizarre analogies, because this one is probably the worst one I've ever given. So I'm giving fair warning to you, Pam, and everyone out there.
I have to go.
Yeah. To me, if you have not figured out that, if you haven't taken that time, and again, I'm saying a year, it might be 6 months for some, it might be 2 years for others. I'm saying a year, but if you haven't taken that time to fill the gap by yourself, and so even if you find that perfect person, you're still replacing someone. You're not adding, in my opinion. And I want you to think about it this way. If you had a child and you lost that child, and you started cranking out a baby to replace the child you lost, is that the right way to do it? Or are you looking to enhance your life with a new child? Does that make sense?
I mean, it does. I think it's apples and oranges. That's like people who lose a dog. I have a friend that, it's a high school friend that I just see on Facebook, and her dog died last week. And today I saw that she had a new dog. My mom lost a dog and then went right out and got a new puppy. I do think that sometimes you're not trying to replace, you're just trying to numb the pain. And if the love of somebody or something else will help you do that, I think it's an individual thing. I know the baby thing. I mean, no, I'm not going to, but I do think the baby thing, people do get pregnant right again when they lose a child a lot of times.
Well, yes, but I mean, let's go back and say it's not even a baby. I mean, even the way you introduced this topic, you were willing to stay in a less than perfect relationship because you didn't want to be alone. You were about to lose your baby, so to speak.
Right.
And you were like, oh, this isn't a great relationship, or it's not fulfilling me, but at least I won't be alone. I don't think that's the right way to have a relationship. And I'm afraid that if you don't give yourself time, then that's exactly what you're going to be doing.
Well, you're 100% right about the relationship. I just can't, your particular comparison as a mom, like I can't compare the loss of my daughter moving out to something tragic.
Okay. Not my best analogy. Okay.
Well, I did get your point. I think that we do move quickly. I mean, so that relationship ended, let's say 3.5 months ago. So are you saying that in we dated for 6 months? Should I have waited a year after that relationship before I started dating again, looking for another relationship?
No, to me, it's more about if you've been married or in a long-term relationship. I wouldn't call a 3 or 4 month relationship a long-term thing. I'm looking like my son. He's been with her for 9 years.
Yeah, that's a long time.
He doesn't even remember life without her anymore. And that's what I mean, is when you've built a life with someone, and now all of a sudden your life has been, quote, cut in half. I mean, she's gone or he's gone. You've got to figure out how to fill that gap. And you're either going to fill it with someone else or by yourself. And I just don't think it's a healthy way to do it, to fill it with someone else.
Well, I cannot disagree with you. I mean, like, it is healthier to become whole on your own, find your happiness, make friends, get out there, find a hobby, find things that fulfill you we've heard this from how many actual experts, that you should find something that fulfills you and don't have it be another person. I just actually saved a video to send to somebody today. It's Matthew Hussey. You know who he is on TikTok. He's actually, I think he probably has podcasts. He's very relationship coach. You know him. He's very handsome, well-spoken. Anyway, he said in this video that he doesn't believe that it's important that you're fully healed before you. And I think I've sent you this video in the past. So I completely agree with him. that sometimes the healing comes in the form of another relationship. Sometimes it comes in the form of an art class or a school or a job or a dog or your kids or whatever. But I'm a strong believer that in whatever helps you heal or helps you move on is what you should be doing or focusing on. You should never focus on finding a partner because, like I just said, if you're on a dating app or you're looking for somebody and you're desperate for that, what you're going to find is not something that you're going to want. I mean, it's just desperation never leads you to any place that is good. And that's, I hate to ever think of myself as desperate, and nobody who knows me would ever think of me that way. And even my ex wouldn't have thought of me as a desperate person. I hope I didn't come across as I was ever desperate for the relationship, but I leaned very heavily into something that was not right for me because of fear. And so it's very easy for me to tell people, don't do that, don't do what I did. But it's also understandable that so many people do that because we are scared of the unknown, no
Sure.
matter what it is.
So I guess for me to close this out a little bit, I think that my final advice or the recap this, guys, being alone is okay. Don't be
Mm,
desperate. Don't be worried. It's fear of the unknown if you've never done it before. I get that. Lived it, been there. But
right.
literally millions or maybe even billions of people in the history of our earth have lived through it. And so can you. So it's not worth fucking up the rest of your life to avoid 6 months of discomfort.
Right. Don't pick wrong, especially, and don't stay for the wrong reasons. I mean, I think that was my biggest takeaway was we probably knew in 3 months that
Mhm.
it wasn't there were already too many things that we did not see eye to eye on. And I just kept saying it's to myself, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. This is not a big deal. This is not a deal breaker. It's not a big deal. In the 2 weeks since I've lived alone, I've thought about those things quite a bit. And I've also thought about things that I have tolerated living with my kids. And I have said, I miss them. I love them, but I'm happy. Yeah, sometimes when I go to sleep at night, I lock the door to my bedroom and I turn the alarm on and I leave the light on outside the house. I never did that before. And I have a loaded gun in my house, which is actually hard for me to believe. It wasn't mine. It's a gift from somebody who taught me how to shoot it, and I didn't ever want it in the house. And now I'm really glad to have it.
Yeah.
So I'm changing during this time living alone. And I'll live alone for a long time. Maybe forever, depends on what happens next. But I know now that it's okay. And I'm not alone. I mean, yeah, I'm living alone, but I went out with friends last night. I had a great time. I'm going out with new friends tonight. I'll have a great time. I have a date with somebody tomorrow night, which is
Woo-hoo.
I don't ever do a first date on a Saturday, but I didn't have plans and I didn't want to go downtown because I wasn't, I've been not feeling physically my best. And so I made a weekend first date, which is like,
Yeah.
if we ever do a dating, like an episode about rules and dates and stuff like that, you don't ever waste a weekend night on a dating app date. You just don't do it. I mean, at least I've never done it in all of my years of dating apps.
I'm still
So
going to go back to say that your dating app dates, there's at least some percentage of your failures are due to Pygmalion effect.
Sabotaging myself,
Well, no, you
self-sabotage.
believe it's going to be shitty before you start,
Oh,
so therefore it's going to be shitty.
I disagree. I feel like you have to go in with very low expectations, and if you don't, they have no chance of exceeding them. And if
That's a
they do,
glass half full versus glass half empty right
yeah,
there.
and
If
if
you've ever
and if
heard it.
they exceed my expectations, I will be thrilled. And I have been shocked and surprised on more than one occasion because
Yeah, I
they
just think it's funny.
exceeded.
In our shows, you said, I won't shave. I don't want to put on any nice clothes. I won't give them a weekend night. I
It's
won't spend
Saturday
more than
night.
a half an hour with them. I mean, you've given all these things like, yeah, fuck these things. And I only swipe while I'm taking a shit. I mean, even
Yes, because it's been almost 5 years of swiping and really just disappointment after disappointment. And so in my mind, having low expectations on a dating app is the best way for somebody to exceed them. And listen, if you're listening to our podcast, you know that we're always asking you to please tell us what you think. I mean, like, if you think Tom's right and you think that if I go into this dating app date thinking this guy's going to be great for me, I have a better chance of him being great for me than if I think he's going to be crap.
I didn't say that.
Well, it's positive.
I said you have convinced yourself that he's a worthless piece of shit before
I
you
didn't
even that
know.
he's not worth a weekend night. He's not worth me shaving. He's not worth me putting nice clothes on. You've already made it very clear that this person is not worth it just because of the way you met him.
But in my defense, I don't need to shave because he's not going to touch my legs this winter. And I always put on, I think I always try to look my best, even if I don't dress up, because, a dating app first date, whether it's for coffee or something, I'm not dressing up for that. So you could be right, but I'm going to keep doing it this way.
That's
And
fine.
maybe someday somebody will exceed my expectations.
Yeah.
That would be great.
I've
Let me
used
know
the
what you
word.
think in the comments, you guys.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, by the way, thinking of comments, you guys, this last week we've had several really great comments. You've left some great comments and some great messages. So thank you for that. So this is my weekly plea to keep doing it. We love them. So if you've already sent us a comment, that doesn't mean you can't do it again. Please keep commenting because the platforms, the podcast platforms love that crap. And that's what helps us grow the Talking Phase family. Please keep them coming. So I think we're ready to move on, aren't we?
You've got mail.
Now that you've berated me on how I handle my dating app dates. Move on. All right, here we go. Hi, Pam and Tom. I recently met a guy and things have been going great. We've been talking a lot and I really like him. He's funny, charming, and we seem to click on so many levels. But here's the thing. Based on a few subtle hints, I'm starting to get the impression that he might not have any savings and could even have bad credit.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. Well, and she's probably our age.
Gold digger.
I know. Oh, I didn't think that. I know finances aren't everything, but they do play a role when it comes to building a future with someone. He's divorced and has adult kids. He rents and drives a pretty old car. We have been out a few times to inexpensive places, but he does always pay. So I'm left wondering, at what point in a budding relationship is it okay to have a real conversation about finances? Is it too soon to ask if he'd be open to sharing his credit report down the line?
Whoa.
And should I consider doing a background check before things get more serious? And here I'm automatically going to tell her, just go to Are We Dating the Same Guy before
Right.
you do a background check. I don't want to jump the gun or make him feel uncomfortable, but I also want to be practical and ensure we're on the same page about money and responsibilities. When is the right time to address finances in a relationship? Looking forward to your insights. Thank you. Money matters. Well, she was honest. Money matters. I guess
Yeah,
that's
it sounds like it's
double
all that matters.
entendre, though, huh?
Yeah, sounds like it's all that matters to her, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't know. I giving her the benefit of the doubt. It sounds like she likes him, but before she wants to see a future with him, she wants to make sure that he's not irresponsible.
So I'm going to jump in and tell you, first off, I'm a little bit disgusted by her, and I know you're going to defend her, and that's fine. That's what we do here.
That's what we do here.
Part of the reason I'm disgusted, and get full transparency, these last few years since my divorce have been very interesting because I started my own company. I spent literally every dollar I had minus my retirement. So basically I exhausted my savings on that. I became a fucking truck driver. I mean, it's not like I've had a very financially successful 5-year period here. The last year or so has been great. So it's a rebuilding time. So other than, I mean, I've never been so poor in my life, to be honest with you. So over the last, well, not the last year, but the 4 years leading up to it. Until 6 weeks ago, I drove an old piece of shit, a 2008 Nissan Altima. And the only reason I'm not driving it anymore is because it fell apart and it was more expensive to fix it than it was worth. So I have a new car now. But other than the inexpensive date thing, she could have been describing me. And so, yeah, I'm a little defensive, but I am going to say this. Here's my answer. Her questions were basically, when is it okay to bring it up? My answer to her, when is it okay for him to ask you for your credit report? When is it okay for him to run a background check on you? When is it okay for you to share your finances with him? And is whatever that answer is the answer for him as well. As soon as you're comfortable sharing yours, then go ahead and ask him for his. That's the way I see it. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'll touch on that for sure. She does not sound like somebody who does not have her act together financially.
Never know.
So, I mean, like maybe someday dating apps, which obviously this is a dating app, because if you meet somebody and you kind of already get to know them outside of a platform like that, I feel like you have a much better feel of where they work, what they do, what kind of money they make. That just comes up in casual conversations. I feel like she's probably more than willing to do a background check and a credit check on herself for him. And he probably doesn't care one bit about those things because men don't have to worry as much when it comes to background checks for like a felony or a rape or things like that. You know, women were a little bit more vulnerable than men. And when it comes to money, you know, I think you can generally tell, like, if I'm talking to somebody and they're like, yeah, I rent a room in a house, they probably have less money than somebody who says, yeah, I own a home. And, you know, I've had plenty of men say to me, you know, where do you live? Oh, do your kids live with you? I can tell that, like, we want to know the answers to these questions, but most people are pretty subtle about it. They're not going to come right out and ask unless they're, you know, if you're dating somebody for months and you're already exclusive, you've defined the relationship, I think that you should know where that person stands financially. I mean, it's a choice. If you're going to be in a long-term relationship, you should be able to make the choice of whether you're financially compatible. For me personally, I've never ever cared about somebody's finances. But if somebody is renting a room, I actually went on a date with somebody last year who went through a divorce, had little kids, and lived with his mom because he didn't have any money. And great guy, but like, I'm past that point in my life. So it doesn't, I don't think that I'm a bad person for feeling that way, but I think we all have this line, this level that we're looking for comfort wise in our 40s and 50s, especially.
Yeah. And I don't disagree. Of course, there's a line. I don't want to date a homeless woman. Although there is some convenience to that because you can drop her off anywhere.
She can move in with you anytime.
Yeah.
And wants to.
But the other thing to think about, again, I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, and that's okay. The fact is, I see all over social media women talking all the time. I don't need a man. I'm an independent woman. I pay my own bills. Really? Wow. Congratulations. That's called being an adult. Can you imagine a dude making a TikTok to say, I'm independent because I pay my bills? I made rent this month before I'm independent. It's like, you know, it's not, you know, that's not the same thing, if that makes sense. And so for me, it's like you're sitting there saying, oh, well, she has her act together. Well, what does that mean? Does it mean she made rent, or does she have savings? Does she have great credit? You know, she's asking, does he have savings? Does he have good credit? Well, does she?
Hold on. Let me go back up to that. Was she asking that? She did say she didn't think
that he had any savings.
That he had. Well, I mean, I'm left. He might not have savings, could even have bad credit. I mean, I don't know how important savings is, you know, but here's somebody who,
it's to her.
For me, it's
clearly it is for her.
Right. I mean, it's people who are looking to get remarried. You know, if she's coming in with a lot of money, but that's why they invented prenups, for God's sake. If you're looking to get remarried and you're worried that you have a lot more money than he does, if he loves you, he'll sign a prenup. Mm-hmm. And if he is in it for the money because you have a lot and he doesn't have a lot, then he won't sign a prenup and you should dump him right away. I mean, that's how I feel as far as prenups go. But just dating and just getting to know somebody, I don't believe that that's the time to even bring up finances. He's taking you out. He's paying the bill. If you want to go someplace nicer and this relationship sounds like it's kind of new, then split the check. You know, if you think that he can't afford a nicer restaurant and that's what you want, split the check. And maybe he won't even let you split the check. Maybe he has more money than you think. Maybe, you know, and I've heard of this happening. You know, people even like you, Tom, driving an older car, but, you know, making a nice income. It's possible that she's wrong. And so if it's really important to her, you know, I can't fathom, I can't even help you figure out how to say, hey, how much you got in the bank? What's your credit score? I mean, like, I can't imagine it because I've never done it. And it doesn't come into play for me. But if I wanted to get married again and I was dating somebody that I thought was bone poor, I would probably want to know what the financial situation was. I'd want to at least make sure we could split the freaking bills.
Yeah.
And then, if I wanted to get remarried, I would just have a prenup. So like she's asking a pretty straightforward question of dun, 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 of when is the right time to address finances in a relationship? When it's very serious. And when you know that, like, if this guy's your person and he makes you happy, God, I'm going to be honest. If I meet that person and like they make me happy and I love spending time with them, it doesn't matter to me how much money he has. Like that just doesn't matter to me. And as far as a background check, like I just said while I was reading the letter, definitely I do check people on, are we dating the same guy? I don't care if somebody says, oh, he ghosted me, or he didn't talk to me, or blah blah blah. I don't care about any of that. If they have receipts and proof that he's doing bad things to women, I just unmatch right
Sure.
away. I just feel like if you're using that site, then you have to take it for what it is. A lot of women are spurned in there, but there's a lot of really good information in there also. And if you want to do a background check, just do a Google search on him. You'll find out where he works. You'll maybe find his Facebook and some other things. I'm a pretty good PI when I'm dating somebody. I
Sure.
can find
Social
their Facebook.
stalking is a really great tool.
Yeah, I look at that. It has nothing to do with money or background. I look at that just to see how old their pictures are. And I can't tell you how many times I go on Facebook and find the guy and it's their profile pic that is their main picture on a dating app. And that pic is 10 years old. And you
Right.
would never know that if you didn't find their Facebook. And I hate that.
Yeah.
Like we've
It's one of
talked
my
about
pet
that.
peeves. Well, my
So
bottom line for how to choose money matters, or money's all that matters.
she didn't say money's all that matters.
I know that's me. I'm saying that, but again, it
Oh, it's you.
seems to me
Okay.
like that's her biggest concern. But here's the deal: my response to her she asked the question, "When is it okay?" And in my opinion, it's okay as soon as why don't you show up to your next date with your credit report and a background check and your bank statement and say, "Here's mine. Now show me yours."
You
And if
better not like him.
until you're willing to do that, then you better not be asking him for that same thing.
You better not like him if you do that.
Yeah.
If this is like your third or fourth date, God, if you've been dating for 2 months and you guys haven't DTR'd yet, like, and you bring up wanting it to do I don't know, pay to do a background check. By now you should have his last name. He doesn't even have to know. If it's that important to you, do a background check. Honestly, in today's day and age, it's probably a good idea to do a background check. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with the background check. For me, it's just again, if she's not willing to share hers, then she has no right to ask for his. That's just my opinion on that.
Are there dating apps where you have to have a certain amount of money to be on them?
Not that I sure hope not. Well, you have to be able to pay the bill if you're going to.
But maybe that should be, maybe she should add that, this is clearly important to her. Maybe she should add that to her profile. Looking for somebody
must be
who
willing to
is,
share your credit report within the first 2 dates.
well, I was thinking more in lines with must be financially successful,
Oh, but how's he going to prove it? She's never going to believe it because money's all that matters.
Okay. Well, I don't know if money is all that matters, but clearly, you feel like a man and I feel like a woman. I feel like any guy's going to be like, what the hell's wrong with this woman? And as a woman, I don't care about somebody's finances. Although I'm not going to lie, I almost met a guy. Last week I was talking to a guy. I guess I've been doing quite a bit of chatting.
Yeah.
I was talking to a guy and, we took it off the dating app and we were texting and I, he was cute and, seemed nice and everything was going swimmingly. And, everybody's going to be really judgy about this. He, started talking about Elon Musk and how much he respects him. And that's fine. The guy's a billionaire. But then he said, I'll meet you for our date and you'll recognize me because I'll be pulling up in, what's it called? The car that looks like a tank.
The Cybertruck.
Yes, he said, I'll be pulling up in a Cybertruck. And so I didn't know they were called Cybertrucks. And so I was like, I said, are you joking?
It's
and
a douche-mobile.
He said, no, I'm not joking. And then he sent me a picture of himself standing between 2 cyber trucks in his driveway. And he said, I bought the first cyber truck that came out, and I don't go anywhere that's not in this car. And I was like, wow. I said, I have to be honest with you. I said, I don't hate any car on the road more than I hate that car.
Yeah.
And he was so bruised, but there was really no way that we were ever going to be able to date, because I would have had to get in that car to go on a date, and I just couldn't muster it. So yeah, that was the end of that. Dating apps, low expectations.
There you go. So you need to put on your dating app, must not drive a Cybertruck.
I won't. I try to keep positives on there. But yeah, I mean, we all have a line, and if hers is money and mine is Cybertrucks, you do you, girl. Just ask him whenever you want, but be prepared for him to tell you to fuck off.
Yeah, and no judgment from me. I think you did the right thing. Anybody that drives a Cybertruck, feel free to not listen to our show.
I feel bad. I felt bad even admitting it, but I asked a couple of people, and they were like, no, absolutely not. Even my kids were like, no fucking way.
No way. I wouldn't even want him to show up at your house, like to pick you up on a date. It's
right.
Like,
I couldn't
meet you at a different store, meet you at McDonald's or something.
It was so braggy, and all I could think of was how gross it was. And so like that. So that was a no. So anyway, you guys, I hope we helped. I think Tom's done. Are you done?
Yeah, I'm done. I've railed on money's all that matters enough.
Okay. Money matters. Thank you for sending us your emails. Believe it or not, we do love hearing from you. You're half of our show, and sometimes you're all of our show, because we get a lot of emails. This one was like a gift for Tom. The email address is talkingphase@gmail.com. That's where you send them, talkingphase@gmail.com. I read them all, and then I decide which ones Tom can get his teeth into. I always respond to you. So when you send your email, I will reply, whether it's asking you to do something different for me or letting you know when we're going to read it on the show. So if you have any comments for Tom or me on our opinions today, or you'd like to suggest a topic, or you want to ask our advice, just send in that email, talkingphase@gmail.com.
Outstanding. This has been a fun one for me. I got a little
Good times.
So yeah. So, hey guys, Pam, as always, been awesome. You're amazing. Thanks to everyone out there for listening to these two, this old guy and that young lady talking. Take a few minutes if you can. Please share this with your friends and family. Take a minute to rate and review. Of course, money matters, or money's all that matters. What do you guys think? Am I being too harsh, or do you think it's okay? Should it go both ways? And then, of course, your thoughts on being alone. We talked a little bit about being alone. Make sure you give us your thoughts on that. We do this every Friday. We love it. We have so much fun with it. We know we're doing it for fun because we don't make any money at it. So,
but someday we will.
Maybe someday.
I tell people we make a ton of money.
Oh, really?
They're probably wondering why there's no ads. When I listen to our podcast every Friday, and I'll be honest, it's my favorite podcast. I'm always so excited that I don't have to skip through the ads. So someday we hope you will have to skip through the ads.
Yes, I hope you don't skip through them, because if they're supporting us, we want you to listen. But yeah, until then, let's keep working on this. Anyway, be sure to follow us everywhere. As of today, we are on TikTok. As of the time you're listening to this, there might not be a TikTok, but we'll see. But follow us on TikTok, follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We're also putting this up on YouTube Shorts. So we're on YouTube, so do all that. So that means we're done until next Friday. Pam and Tom,
have a great day, you guys. I hope everybody has a great end of Wait, is it still January? No, happy February. Have a great February and a day, week.
See ya.
Here.